Hi, this is Susan Broder from Speak Languages and Travel the World, your English teacher here to help you with your fluency. In fact, if you don't want to miss any of my videos, please subscribe here down, pressing in this button, and you won't miss any of my videos. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about myself because I've realized that many of you are language learners and you have more or less greater or fewer difficulties you have to face learning languages. And so I thought I'd let you understand who I am, and perhaps you'll understand that I've been through some of your difficulties. And so I try and create my work especially for people the way I went through it. So I know where the difficulties lie, and I know what's important in making it easier to learn a language. So, where to begin? Well, I grew up in London. I was born and grew up in London in a very crazy family because my grandmother spoke Hungarian to my great-grandmother, and we were all living in the same house. And then my grandmother spoke Croatian to her husband, my grandfather. And then my grandmother spoke German to her son, my father. This all because she was born in Hungary but grew up in Vienna. However, we were living in London, and through their travels, my father had spent a period in Italy, in Trieste, and so my parents met there, but then they settled in London, and that's where I was born with my sister. So it was quite a multicultural family. And despite this, I didn't learn all the languages that were in the house because I only stayed a few months and then we moved into our own home. And so I was still lucky because my parents tried to teach me Italian, and whilst we were living in England, I had the luck of growing up bilingual. So this was effectively an advantage because it opened my mind. However, when I went to school in England, we usually study French as a foreign language, being that we're neighbors more or less with France. And I was lucky enough to be in a class, I think I was about 7. I was lucky enough to be in an experimental class where an external teacher came in and spoke to us in French for a couple of hours a week. And we didn't learn to read or write. We only did role plays, and she told us stories, and we had flashcards. It was really a lot of fun, so that when I got to middle school, all my other friends hadn't studied French, and we started French from scratch, which meant we started from the beginning. And that's where I learned to read and write, but I had the advantage of already knowing the language and knowing how to pronounce it, and that was a great advantage. Now, at school I did also study German, but somehow, yes, it wasn't that easy because when my family then moved to Germany, because my father was offered a job there, I think it was, yes, the company sent him there because they needed his help and he knew the language. So that's where I started realizing that my German knowledge wasn't that good, because I finished my schooling in an international school where we spoke English. However, my German teacher said, well, you've been learning German for 3 years, so you should know it pretty well, but no. So I had a very good teacher at that school, and she brought my German up to standard, and I was able to finish my university, get my university degree at German university. So I had to work hard, though, to learn German, and subsequently I decided to learn Spanish. So I've been through the hard work of learning languages, and I would recommend that what helps you most is trying to immerse yourself in the language, because you can study the grammar, you can learn all the vocabulary, all the verbs, and so on. but languages are something which are alive. And for example, the slang or the colloquialisms or the connected speech and all these things, you don't really pick them up from books. You must live the language. That's one of my mottos, actually, live the language. And of course, not all of us are lucky enough to be able to go to all these countries to live the language. So another way of doing it, being lucky that we now have internet, is to surround ourselves with the language. So make sure that all your computer settings and your phone settings and your social network settings are in the language that you're studying. And that makes a huge difference. My weakest language is the Spanish, so I've got my computer set on Spanish. And when I open the first page, my homepage, which appears, is a Spanish newspaper in Spanish. And so it sets my mind in that mode. So yes, I notice things that otherwise I wouldn't take time to notice. So I really recommend, yes, being immersed in the language, even if you don't live in the country. You won't realize it, but you'll pick up expressions and phrasal verbs and idioms, and it'll be just that much easier because, for example, in German, there are so many differences in the cases and the articles and the prepositions, depending on many factors. Now, it's all very well knowing the rules, but we're not going to think of the rules whilst we're talking. So if you read, listen, watch films, sing songs, you'll pick it up and it just comes like that. And you don't really know why, but it doesn't matter because it's correct. And so that's the best way to learn a language, to practice a lot. Practice a lot, but practice speaking, practice listening, more than just learning rules. It's good to know the rules and why something is like that, but in the end, the way you'll pick it up is just hearing it and saying it. So whatever you pick up, try and use it in daily life. And that's something important. Anyhow, to finish off my story, yes, I'm passionate about creative activities. I love sports. My favorite sport is skiing, even though I don't ski as much as I used to. I love reading, and that I only do really on holiday, unfortunately. I'm passionate about many things, including language teaching and language learning. And anything connected to language, so also creating materials for language learning. And then I met my husband, who is of Italian origin, and so I managed to bring up my two children bilingual as well, which is very nice. They speak fluent English and Italian and have been integrating with other languages as well. And I'm very, very proud of them both because my son is now still quite young, but is learning to be a pilot, and I hope he manages to reach his goal and dream of becoming a professional pilot, whilst my daughter is at the end of her high school studies and is now thinking of university, but at the same time is a very good athlete. Her passion is inline skating, and we're very proud of her because she's reached very high levels as well. So there's a lot of satisfaction from both of them. And my greatest passion is traveling. And so before I had the children, we traveled all over the world. Now we've slowed down and just limited ourselves mainly to Europe, but we will start traveling again soon now that the children are independent. So that's all about me. How about writing something about yourselves, a few brief lines in the comments box, so we can maybe get to know you. And yes, you can practice your English just writing a few lines, and it's a good way to get to know each other. Okay, so that's all, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you want to practice your fluency, don't forget there's a link in the description below for my free fluency exercises, which, if you like, you can then connect to some premium exercises which are on the website. Okay, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye, have a wonderful day. Bye. Bye-bye.